From Columbia, in high definition, this is WIS News 10 Awareness.
A collection of historically black Greek-lettered fraternities and sororities with rich history dating back to the early 1900s. Public service, a common thread throughout. The members are community leaders blazing a trail in various industries, but have recent bad press and controversies dimmed the light on the Divine Nine. We are talking to organization leaders about the history, the present, and the future. Thank you for joining us for Awareness. I'm your host, Megan Norman. We have assembled presidents of black Greek-lettered organizations. In just a few minutes, we'll talk with representatives from sororities. But first, the fraternities will start our conversation. Joining us today is Dr. Leo Richardson with Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, James Melvin of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and Cliff Mintz with Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. We reached out to Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated and Iota Phi Theta Fraternity, and they were not able to attend this taping. Thank you all so much for joining us. I want to start our conversation by playing two sound bites from two fraternity members.
Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
What would you say defines an alpha man?
Integrity, excellence, and social conscious.
Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. We're built on the foundations of scholarship, achievement, and service. And so I definitely think that we still hold those core foundations in our organization. And the young men who joined the organization are keeping up with that in every way that they can.
Richardson, I'll start with you. We heard the first soundbite talking about scholarship. And would you say that that's right on track with your organization?
Yes, scholarship specifically, and community service in terms of what we are doing now to have an impact on our young men and the community.
And what would you say, what is your fraternity built on?
Our fraternity is built on service. What can we do to make a difference with our young folk, and what can we do to make a difference in the community holistically? Basically, that's why we're here. And as you know, we were the first fraternity in the history of organizations. And we were founded in 1906. And that basically where we started in terms of the need for our people in our community.
Okay, and what separates your organization from the others?
I wished I could be definitive in that, because I'm not sure what they all are doing, but I'm sure they're doing excellent jobs. I'm not sure how different we are. All I know is what we do to make a difference in the lives of young men and others in the community.
And Mr. Melvin, we also heard from a fraternity brother of yours. Would you say that what he's talked about is right in line with your organization as well?
It certainly is, Megan. Kappa Alpha Psi was founded in January 5th, 1911, so we're in our 103rd year. But at the founding, I think what distinguishes us is at that founding in Indiana University, Bloomington, Indiana, is that 10 young black men came together out of a need. There was a small minority population there, and you can imagine what the racial atmosphere must have been at that time. So these young men came together as a means of survival and supporting each other, and thus that came out of that was our motto of achievement. So as those young men promised they would do, our Kappa brothers are doing today. And that is, they promised that everything that they embarked upon will be done to the best of their ability, and as a result, they would rise to the top. And so we instilled that in young men coming into Kappa today.
Now, as far as Phi Beta Sigma is concerned, what separates your organization and what is your mission?
The separation, I really have to agree with Dr. Richardson saying it's not really much. I mean, because greatness has to have a copycat. And, you know, we have to start from somewhere. So it started from the first, which is Alpha, and it goes all the way down to Iota. The greatness had to copycat themselves, and we as Phi Beta Sigma men have done the same to just make sure we continue that lineage of greatness. The separation will just come from just the things that each individual organization does in their prospective regions, their prospective chapters, and their prospective communities. None of us do the same things as far as our service. We have the same goals, But as far as the events or the actual act themselves, those things are the difference.
And what are some of the events that your organization takes a part of?
Just on a national level, we do, of course, make sure we represent with the March of Dimes. We represent with the with any kind of breast care awareness, you know, and the AIDS awareness. We have Sigma wellness programs as far as our national programs for our fraternity, and we just make sure we highlight those on the local level as well.
And Mr. Melvin, what about your organization? What are some of the service activities that you all take a part of?
One of our largest ones is our Kappa Botillion, where we bring young men, and I think you might have hosted that at one time. But nonetheless, we bring young men in and we expose them to things in life that they otherwise would not do. And at the end of that, the culmination is that these young men are awarded scholarships based on the participation. In addition to that, for the past 4 years, we have a Kappa golf tournament. Proceeds from that also go towards scholarships. So between scholarships and trying to support the disadvantaged in our various communities, that's essentially what Kappa is doing. And it all boils down to service.
Right.
Yeah.
That seems to be the common thread. And
That's
quickly,
right.
Dr. Richardson, your organization.
Well, we have about 8 different activities that we do throughout the year. One specifically I'd like to emphasize is the Alpha Academy that the fraternity throughout the country has adopted in terms of mentoring young black men. At our Alpha Academy, we have about 28 young men that our fraternity is mentoring as we speak. And we bring them together. It will probably be in June this year. And we have them to compete in various areas, oratorical contests, which we call the Alpha F Young Oratorical Contest. And from this, the winners, we give them scholarships to college. And there are about 7 other activities that we're involved in that I'm so proud of our young men, that they make sure that they bring in as many young men to mentor. And you know the statistics in terms of our families, and
Right.
70% of us are born out of wedlock. So our fraternity, along with others, trying to make sure that we have an impact on the lives, specifically of our young men, as well as doing additional things in the community.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Still to come, 4 sororities, each with a unique approach to serving the community. We'll hear from sorority leaders about the history, plus what they're doing to make a difference every single day. Welcome back to Awareness. Women of the Divine Nine have been making a mark on society since their organization's early beginnings. Here with more on Black Greek lettered sororities are Beverly McCullough of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Doris Cochran with Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Dr. Felicia Scott Strickland of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and Erica Williams with Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Thank you all so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Let's get started right away with what signifies your organization and what separates you from the rest.
Sure. For us, with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, being founded in 1908, we've been a service to mankind for the past 106 years. Our focus is anything that helps to make the community and citizens overall improve. We focus on health initiatives, we focus on global poverty, we focus on economic empowerment, and we have a large number of programs, signature programs here in the Midlands that we coordinate on an annual basis towards that goal.
And Ms. Cochran, I know you all celebrated a very big anniversary recently.
Yes, we did, and we just finished because we decided to celebrate the entire year of 2013. Yes, I'm the president of the Columbia Alumni Chapter, and we've been chartered for the past, 74 years, and our 5-point programmatic thrust is economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, political awareness, and also mental health. The Columbia Alumni Chapter, we're a sisterhood of scholarship, service, and sisterhood. We believe in giving back to the community, and we do so much in the Columbia area. I can go on and on. Last year we did the Women's Suffrage March here in Columbia, as well as in DC. And we just do a whole lot of things in the Columbia area.
Right.
And what separates us as the women, of the other Greek letter organizations, we are sisters. And that's what's important, that we work together, and we work together all the time.
And Dr. Scott Strickland?
And as a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority, and we have our principles of finding womanhood, scholarship, sisterhood, and we have community service projects, not only in the Midlands area, country, and nationally and internationally. We are currently working very hard on projects focused on elder care, getting the word out to make sure the caregivers are doing what they need, the members that are being cared for are getting what they need, and making sure education and support is out there. We also have signature programs that we've partnered with the March of Dimes for over 30 years. We have our Stork's Nest, the Columbia Stork's Nest here in the city. We actually have two here in Columbia. The one that's our main chapter has had since 1974. And we have a Stork's Nest at Keenan High School. And one of our other chapters has a Stork's Nest in Lexington. Okay. We focus on education and prematurity awareness to help make sure unborn babies stay unborn a little bit longer, to make sure that they are healthy when born.
And Ms. Williams?
Yes, Megan. As far as Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, much like the other ladies that I am so fortunate to share the panel with, we focus on scholarship, sisterhood, and service, but the key difference with Sigma Gamma Rho when compared to the other organizations, we were founded by 7 school teachers at Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana, and the other organizations were founded at Howard, which of course is predominantly African American, and Butler University is a predominantly white university. Because we were founded by 7 school teachers, the hallmark of what we do are going to be, our programs are focused on youth. Right. And we do things that focus civically, socially, and politically on the national level, on the regional level, and local level as well.
Now, all of you talked a lot about service, about education. Are these core values that you truly believed in when you were thinking about joining your sororities? I mean, because we can talk about it all the time, and the rhetoric is there, but was the action there from the beginning for all of you?
I can say that I was one of the lucky ones. I grew up in a blue and white family. My father is a Sigma. My mother's passed away. She was a Zeta. I was an Arcanet, which is one of our auxiliaries on the youth auxiliaries, the high school age. So I grew up in a family that both were school teachers, and everything was based on education, multiple generations going back. All of my aunts and uncles have college degrees.
So it was natural for you?
It's just natural for me.
And for the rest of you ladies as well, was it similar?
Well, it was.
By all means, go ahead.
Somewhat similar, but when I decided to go back to school, I went back to school as a non-traditional student. And when I got to this campus, Allen University, all I saw was the Deltas doing work on campus, and I saw what they were doing in the community. And so I didn't have a preconceived idea. I was educated when I became a non-traditional student. So that's what, I guess, drew me to Delta Sigma Theta. But just to add to that, the Columbia Alumni Chapter, we have some great programs. Our Delta Academy, our Delta Gems, and our Embodied. And I'm going to speak shortly on Embodied. Embodied is our new program that deals with our men, our young men in middle school. And with that program, we know that we cannot mentors. That's what we partner with the 100 Black men, as well as the concerned Black men in the Columbia area. And we're following these young men from middle school through high school, along with our gems and our academy. We're just so proud of our programs.
And I know we could talk about this for hours, but we're going to have to wrap up our segment. But ladies, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much.
When awareness returns, members of Black Greek lettered organizations have been making headlines, but not always for the good they do in the community. Coming up, we'll talk about hazing and other controversial issues that dim the light on the Divine Nine. Welcome back to Awareness. Hazing has been a hush-hush part of some membership intake process for years. Now, recent cases where the practice turned deadly has thrust it into the spotlight. While it has been banned across the board since the early 1990s, the fact remains it still goes on. To dig deeper, we have James Melvin, Brett Porterfield, Erica Williams, and Beverly McCullough. Thank you all for being with us. Let's jump right back into it. Hazing. It still happens, but it's banned. What are your thoughts on that?
For us, we have a very strong policy we have had from the very beginning of our foundation. Back in 1999, we revisited that policy, and we are still extremely firm on the fact that there will be no hazing tolerated of any type or any form. Everyone's to be treated with dignity. We have a number of methods in place for reporting purposes on our website. It's a public opportunity for anyone that feels like they've been had any type of infraction to report those infractions, and they will be investigated and handled immediately.
So even though it's been banned, why does it still happen? Why does it still go on?
We have to take into account that these individuals are taking matters into their own hands, are not acting on the best interests of our organizations. Each one of us took a pledge to uphold our organizations with the best in conduct. So we must understand when individuals do these things, they're not acting on the best interests of our organizations. They're taking matters into their own hands. And we have clearly stated in each of our organizations that hazing will no longer be allowed. So we must understand that when these individuals do these things, they cause harm against the organizations. And how could they do this? This is not brotherly or sisterly.
Absolutely. And to add more on top of that, as Brett indicated, they are doing more harm than good, and it is not as if it is encouraged from anyone's national body. We strongly discourage it. All members sign waivers, those who are prospects, those who are existing members, but for whatever reason, they feel as though they need to go through what is considered a process to be a member, to really feel like it's a part. They hear about all these stories or things that have transpired early on in the infancy stages of some of the organizations and coming along during the ranks. So they feel as though the only way they can sufficiently to really be a member, a bona fide member, is to go through something that's a process, not understanding that the organizations have evolved. They've evolved, and here we are in 2014, and unfortunately, we're still dealing with these issues.
Well, and when I asked you all what your missions were, I didn't hear hazing as part of the mission.
Absolutely
No,
not.
absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Matter of fact, Megan, for Kappa Alpha Psi, hazing has been banned as a part of its constitution since our inception. However, as it continued to evolve, we found that what these young men were doing put the fraternity at risk, and it put those members coming into the fraternity at risk. I'm not sure if you're aware, but in the 1980s, all of the fraternities and sororities came together in Washington, D.C. with the common thought that we're going to have to collectively do something about this. And as a result, we all left that meeting on one accord. Now, we did different things. If you're coming into Kappa now, that person that's coming in actually signs a form indicating that hazing, they will not tolerate being hazed. And of course, during that process, if anything happens that they construe as hazing, then they are charged to report that so the fraternity can take the appropriate action. So I think we're on the right track. The other thing is we used to do intake at the various undergraduate locations. We don't any longer. When you come into the fraternity, undergraduate, graduate members all come in at one location, and they are all monitored. We cannot even move unless our province, in your case region, says you can move now. So this process is monitored, and we found that the incidence of hazing has been drastically reduced.
And the last thing I want to touch upon really quickly is people out there who are watching this who are thinking, you know, maybe I might want to consider joining. What advice do you have for them when they take this process very seriously?
I said research.
Absolutely.
Thorough research, and make sure that they thoroughly investigate each organization they would like to join. It's important for them to understand that this is a lifelong commitment. And in making this lifelong commitment, you have to evaluate every option that are available. That's financial, that's mental, and that's physical. We require a lot of our members, but then again, membership has its privileges. So I would say to any person who is looking to join each one of our organizations, do your research thoroughly.
All right, well, great advice from everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of our panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
After the break, we'll have a final thought. Plus, we want to introduce you to someone who is using the arts to empower, enlighten, and educate. This week's modern-day history maker, up next.
I really feel like I'm living what God has purposed me to do.
Karen Alexander resigned from her corporate job in 2001 and started the nonprofit Auntie Karen Foundation.
The mission has always been the same: to empower, enlighten, and educate through the arts. I always knew that the arts could be an empowering tool. Everybody's creative, and sometimes you just need somebody to let you know that.
She uses Olivia, the jazz diva, to connect with kids.
Hello, little ones. I am so glad you could join me today.
She uses networking and Legends of Concert series for teens and adults to expose them to the arts and show them how to be positive and productive.
I really started this for my family, and I discovered through the years it was really my family of African descent. So we became that accidental international outreach program.
She's been to Ghana, traveling the world, trying to leave it a little better than she found it.
We live in what's called a community, and I think when that environment is strong for everybody, everybody wins.
Regardless of fraternity or sorority affiliation, members of the Divine Nine continue to work in the community, many 100 years strong and counting. They have a responsibility to uphold the fundamentals of their founders while passing on their legacy. It's also important to not only recognize but also end the cycle of hazing, some disguised as part of the membership process. This not only compromises the foundation laid by the members, but also leaves a stain on future generations. We would like to thank all of our guests this morning. Until next time, I'm Megan Norman. This is Awareness.